Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Personal PR Show. And today we're here with Apryl. Hi, Apryl without the H.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for having me on the show.
We're so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time. Where are you and what time is it for you?
I am in Chicago in the United States, and it is 10 o'clock in the morning here. So yeah.
Oh my God.
I know that it's late by you, right?
It's like 5 p.m. Everything is dark already because, you know, it's a European winter. And what I'm mostly envious of is the fact that at this time you can still drink coffee. Do you have your coffee cup there with you?
I had it earlier today, so don't have it with me, but I did have coffee this morning. Yes.
Oh my God, yes. I'm always envious when I talk to people in the States because they can still have coffee, whereas I can't. And I have to resort to tea or water like right now. But yeah, because I'm Italian, so I'm a coffee addict. I would drink it in the evening as well, but then I wouldn't sleep in it. But today we're not here to talk about my coffee addiction. Yes, we're here to talk about you, Apryl, and especially how you managed to get featured on so many mainstream publications. Oh my God, yes. It's amazing. We want to know everything about it. But before we start with this topic, would you like to maybe introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Apryl Schlueter. I have been a coach for about 8 years. Going in the next week, it'll be 8 years since I started my coaching business. I'm a published author, and my areas of expertise are in career transition, work-life balance, and productivity. And these are all three areas that I myself have had to struggle through in my own life, whether it be, leaving my job to become an entrepreneur, or trying to juggle being a working parent with 2 young kids or growing kids. And just in terms of productivity, I have 2 kids with ADHD. And I don't know why, but I just love planning and organizing. And so it has definitely leveraged my strengths to another level beyond my own. So I help people primarily in those 3 areas, but even just trying to focus on, a good quality of life and really enjoying the journey that we have and feeling accomplished along the way. So my first book is about work-life balance, called Finding Success in Balance. And I'm working on a second book right now called The Accomplishment Project, which will take me a few years to write. But I am well underway with interviewing people and starting to craft initial drafts of multiple chapters. So that's me.
Amazing. Oh my God, you've done so many things. And 1.5 books at this stage, and soon a second book as well. And then so you can claim to be a published author, which is amazing. And then your 3 areas of expertise. Oh my God, like usually when I talk to coaches, they are, let's say, proficient, like they focus on one area of expertise, whereas you have even 3, right? Wow, yeah. This makes your work very diverse, and the people that you work with very diverse as well. So it must be a lot of fun. And yes, and then I heard a little bit that told me that you also got a lot of press, a lot of media coverage. How did that?
I think it was luck. No, I'm kidding. It's when my book came out, I had a lot of opportunities to have media coverage, and I will say that I did have help in terms of PR. I worked with a company to help me secure some of those. But I think also what was great about it was, even beyond the initial push for the book, there were relationships that were created that gave me even more opportunities well beyond after the book was out and I was no longer working, because I had relationships with some of the writers for these various sites and whatnot. So I'm very lucky, and I'm glad that I have at least a good variety of different things to see when you Google me.
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah, so we should all Google Apryl, right? And we'll find things, exactly, all of the media coverage, and then her books, and then her own channels as well. It's going to be amazing. Yes. And April, you said that you already knew people from the media industry before you actually launched your book, right? So how did that happen? Was it a strategic move? So did you know that in general, it's good to be connected with media people, journalists and bloggers and so on? Or did it just happen by accident?
I think I learned that throughout the process of promoting my book. I think, thinking about how do you get this book into as many people's hands as possible. I know a, wide, broad set of people already that I can reach out to, but how do I reach people who don't know me? And so I think trying to think about how to do that. And to be completely honest, I don't feel like I enjoy promoting myself because of the fact that it's you're wearing your heart on your sleeve and you're asking people to have faith in you, so sometimes it helps to have help. But in the process of contracting with a PR agency, I learned the ins and outs of what they were looking for in terms of what they needed to be able to promote the book, and also just seeing all of the relationships that they had. It was really, really eye-opening to know, yes, some of these relationships that you build with people can work in your favor, and sometimes you don't realize that. Just like when you have your friends who are your besties, who you can say, please help me sell this book, they will go out and tell people all about you. It's the same thing with a PR agency. They have relationships with maybe places that you have, you would never dream of having connections with. I know that I told them, like, can you please send my book to the Ellen DeGeneres show and Oprah and all of these things, and they had those connections. Not that turned out to be anything, but you never know, right? And so to be able to have an advocate on your behalf, who have those connections already established, to just at least pitch on your behalf was super, super helpful, because there would be no way that I would have the confidence to be like, Oprah, would you read this book and let us know what you think, or have me on your show, or have me featured. But at the same time, if you don't ask, you definitely get that rejection. So yeah, it was definitely helpful to have that, but to also even just working with them and having that relationship, realizing what it would take to do a better job promoting any future things that I did. It gave me that back end window to realize that, I can do it myself if I wanted to. I just need to do the work. So yeah,
it needs to be work, exactly. Maybe create your own team and then instruct them, of course. But what is this thing that you would say was your biggest learning when you were observing this PR agency while they were promoting your book?
One of the biggest learnings, and as somebody who cares a lot about work-life balance, I think what I didn't realize going into the book publishing process is that once the book is out, it doesn't, the work doesn't stop. The promotion is just as difficult as writing the book itself. And so you just have to be mentally prepared for that. I think in terms of any content you make, right? I think that there is, just like this show that we're on right now, it doesn't stop when the video ends. There is, how do we get this video out to people who can see it? Right now, people who are watching are in the Facebook group and get to see it firsthand, which is awesome. But, how do we bring visibility to me, to you? We need to be telling people about the things that we're doing and not holding them to ourselves, because then it doesn't get the visibility that it needs. And so I think it's just really important to know that there's, after creating content, it doesn't stop at the content being created. It is fine. I mean, it is a huge accomplishment and a huge step to just put content out there. But if you really want to get that reach, if you really want to see more people have visibility to you, you have to spread the word. And it's not easy. It can feel uncomfortable sometimes. I still feel that way daily. But I know that it's almost kind of like a muscle that you have to work. If you are not used to talking about yourself and sharing your ideas, then it's, then it just gets lost. And there's so much media out there already. So if you are staying silent, then you can very easily get lost. And so even if it's just a little bit of, sharing what's on your mind, or just having a presence is, the least that you can do.
Yes. Oh my God, I love so many things that you said, pretty much everything. And if I may, I would add also that I think everybody finds it easier to actually endorse and speak well about other people than about themselves, right?
100%.
Yes. And right. And this feels better to us, number one, but also that makes us more credible, because if it's somebody else talking about us, especially a voice with authority instead of ourselves, boasting this left and right and self-proclaiming ourselves number one in this and that, then it's actually much more credible, which of course generates trust as well. So it's a win-win, I think, for everybody. Yes. And then maybe another thing that I could share is that I have noticed with myself, and especially with my students, is that if they focus on their message, on their breakthrough idea that can make a positive impact in the world, if they really focus on this while they are promoting, what is it that they're promoting, maybe a book or whatever, actually it's much easier, because they're not promoting themselves, but they're promoting an idea, and they know that this idea can really make an impact in people's lives, right? So this is like a shift in perspective that seems, to be useful for a lot of people. Did you try to do this while you were promoting your first book, to really focus on the message instead of, yourself?
Yeah, I think that the big part about writing a book is that when you write so many words, they stick in your mind, and it's very, very easy, especially, this is a little hack that I figured out when I was writing the back cover copy of the book, right? This is the, what is this book about? Do I really want to read this? That is the Bible to, that is your sales page. When people pick up that book, or they see the description on Amazon or wherever it's being sold. And so when I think about what my messages are, it's all there, because it is a summary. It doesn't go into the details, but it really gets to the point of what your message is in that book in, one small page. And so when you write so many words, you feel it is very, very easy. You almost have it ingrained in your brain. So I remember as I was, writing blogs for other people or other media outlets, when I was being interviewed, I always felt like I was saying the same thing over and over again, but it's those little messages that can pull people into, hearing more about the backstory, or, more details about that. And so it is really, really important to know your message. And I think that writing a book is a great way to organize your thoughts. It is a very hard way to organize your thoughts, but it, in hindsight, showed me that I know what to say, what the main message is in the book, without having to look at it again. Maybe the details I will actually reference, like, what did I say? Because it was organized so well. But in terms of understanding the message, that is essential, especially when you're trying to pitch to media outlets, because if they are not interested, or if it's not relevant to something that they are interested in, it's very easy to just toss aside. So, I think a lot of the conversation about burnout, which is very, very prevalent now, was just starting to become a big issue when my book came out. And so there was a lot of opportunities for me to talk about work-life balance and stress and everything like that. And it's just funny how now it's ballooned to even bigger. And, that was 6 years ago, or 5 years ago. No, 6 years ago that I put that book out. So I was already thinking about some of these things that are now becoming, big issues for people. So, so I got to get ahead of it on the next one and be one of the pioneers of accomplishment.
It's so good, because you basically jumped on this trend of talking about, maybe you didn't even jump on the trend, you were preparing this book before anyway.
Thrown into an experience that gave me a lot of fuel to write the book. But I think it was experiencing something that was so detrimental to my health, and realizing that people are not paying attention to, they're not present. Our world was getting so busy, and then the pandemic hit, and then it really whipped people into perspective about how much we do and how much we integrate in our lives, and how it's just too busy, and how we really need to just be present and enjoy life as it is. So
absolutely. Wow. And it was perfect timing. It came out of your own experience, but when you came out with this book, actually it was perfect timing because the trend was just starting. So you managed to jump on the trend and actually to champion it, because it was still growing, right, until it reached its peak. That is amazing. That is really perfect timing. And in public relations, perfect time, like timing is everything. So congratulations on this. And then I have a question that brings together, public relations and media relations, especially, and thought leadership and book writing. And at the same time, one of your areas of expertise, which is productivity. So you mentioned that writing a book is actually great in order to clarify your thoughts. So would you say that actually writing a book for a thought leader could be a productivity hack?
Yes. I think that especially if you have a lot of different ways that you can go about. So for example, my book talks about work-life balance, and each chapter is about a different area of life. What I love about it is that, all these different areas of life, like career, money, family, relationships, health and wellness, all of these things are a piece of the puzzle that go into work-life balance. And my overall message is, making sure that what would leave you satisfied in those areas in the right amount of satisfaction levels. Some people might care more about their career in different seasons, but you need to be aware of what is most important to you so that you can put most of your energy towards that, because we only have so much energy. And so I think when you organize your thought, a book is a calling card. And I don't know why this phenomenon is the way it is, but when somebody becomes a published author, people look at you differently. And I am still the same me. And there's a part of me that's triggered, but at the same time, I'm like, I did do this work. And yes, I've taken the step to take, some really hard actions and go through a lot of mental blocks to have this tangible thing. And so not only do you organize your thought, but it becomes almost like a calling card to be like, hey, this is my message. This is what I'm about. I, can probably tell you, but if instead of having one-on-one conversations with however many people, I packaged it all in a book for you. And so, and you can take, I can take maybe like 6 or 7 different presentations from my book, depending on what people need. And I can also come at it from the angle of all the different areas of life. And so it becomes a very easy way when I do speaking engagements or, other interviews. It's like, what angle do I want to come at? And I've already written it. So it's just a matter of repurposing it and regurgitating it, because sometimes the way that it's said in the book, you might say it differently, and maybe people need to hear it verbally instead of being read. But I think that it does give you the opportunity to lay all of your content out in an organized fashion so that then you can pick and choose. So it might take a little bit of time to do the legwork, but it makes it so much easier after the fact to just repurpose the content that you've created. So yeah.
Oh my God, I love this. Yeah. So it's definitely a productivity hack said by you. We of course believe. And sorry,
people might argue that it's not like the most productive, but I do think that, it serves more purposes than just helping you create content. It really puts you out there as a thought leader, which is what you want. And it gives you a very easy way to a little package to sell to people. Sell, not meaning monetarily, but like just basically pitching yourself and sharing your ideas.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely. I'm just gonna. Okay, good. So we heard your dog at the beginning of our conversation before we started going live. You probably my cat, who's just there looking at me, and she brought me her teddy bear. She has a teddy bear. Actually, it's a unicorn. And yes, and a teddy unicorn. And she brought it to me, but just like 2 meters away from me. And she was looking at me and crying, meowing, because she wanted me to go and pick up the unicorn, which of course I couldn't do because Bilu, I'm busy. But I pick it up as oh my God. Thank God she stopped crying, because sometimes she can cry for 5 minutes in a row until I pick up the unicorn. Okay, we've closed the topic. But my next question, April, is, so you got featured on so many different mainstream media, right? Could you please repeat to us what this mainstream media was? Because when I read your bio, I was super impressed.
I don't talk about it a lot. Yeah, so I was featured in Forbes. I was featured in Business Insider. I have a I was featured in a magazine, like a paper magazine, which I had, and then my dog chewed into it, so I have to keep it. Oh, let me see if I have it here. This is so funny. It was a Real Simple magazine. Look at he just
God.
page was saved that I was on, but this is a magazine that I was featured in, so that was super fun. And then the website for the Today Show here, which is today.com. Was there anything else that I think those are the big ones. There's I think Health Magazine maybe. But yeah, so I'm so grateful to have had that visibility, and it's just super fun to, again, as these are huge media outlets that cover so many different types of news, to just even have an imprint on the internet. I had to remind myself, what was my Forbes interview? I just Googled myself Forbes, and then it showed me. And so there's a number of them, and I'm super grateful that they're there.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah, it is really, really outstanding. And it's something that not a lot of people can claim, that they could really feature not in some publications, but in really mainstream publications that are, known globally. Like, who doesn't know Forbes or Business Insider and so on, of course. Oh my God, this is amazing. And did you have then any interviews with these publications, or was the PR agency in touch directly with the publication and they provided all info, and then the publication wrote about you?
With Forbes specifically, they interviewed me, so it was a Q&A type of thing. I was talking with a writer, and they provided me with the questions, and I responded. So it was very much, here, I'm emailing you the questions, answer. And so that was how that went. There were other ones. I'm trying to think. I think most of them, I was dealing with somebody at the media outlet directly, but it was the PR agency was just in charge of making the connection. So, I mean, I could have easily chosen not to respond, and they could have chosen not to publish. But thank God they did.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's great. It's great. Written interviews are great. Not a lot of people know about written interviews, but they do exist. And actually they're super frequent. Absolutely. Yeah.
I enjoy them over writing guest blogs, if that helps. Just because I feel like, especially after you write a book, it's why do I want to write another piece of content? I just want you to ask me questions, and I can answer from that perspective. Because then it feels different just a little bit.
Yeah. So would you prefer? Do you prefer speaking or writing? Because you're a speaker as well.
I don't know if I have a preference. I think what's hard about speaking is that I'm a very wordy person generally. I like to talk, and I like to tell stories, and I like to go off on tangents. And sometimes, depending on where I'm at, it's not the most efficient use of time. And so, for people who are just get to the point, it's very much easier for me to write succinctly than talk succinctly. But if people are okay with me being my authentic self, because it's not necessarily something I want to change. And sometimes I feel nervous when I'm asked to do a speaking engagement. And I can, once my thought is organized, it doesn't really matter. But I think doing things off the cuff, sometimes I tend to enjoy improvising, but sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to get to the story, but it's always a compelling story. And I'm not necessarily willing to change, my natural state to be a polished speaker. It's just not my jam. I have a lot of energy. I move around a lot. I laugh, I smile, I crack jokes. And so it really just depends on the audience and who's asking me to speak. If I have to be professional, I would probably prefer writing. But if I can have fun with it, I would probably prefer speaking. So
yeah,
I hope that
and you're so
answers.
right, because it's different. It is difficult. I wanted to say different. It is different as well, but it is certainly also difficult to generalize, because when we're talking about communication, especially public relations, we also always need to consider the platform and the audience, as you just said, and the format as well. When it comes to social media, even if you just go on Instagram, for example, you will, behave, or you will talk in a different way if you're on a, let's say, on a story, as opposed to a live, as opposed to a reel, and so on. So it really comes down to the particular channel, particular audience, particular format as well. So your answer was great, and it's great that there are platforms where you can be yourself and you can be authentic, and you can be maybe a bit lengthy at times as well. And there are platforms where you can be, you have to be, let's say, concise, and then you can choose maybe to write instead of speaking. So there's a variety of opportunities and possibilities in this field, definitely. I mean, today there are hundreds of different channels, so you can just pick and choose whatever you prefer, right? Exactly. But that is great, because this, from a strategic standpoint, choosing a variety, choosing, let's say, different audiences and different formats, different platforms as well, actually gives a more complete and rounded image of you. So people will see that there's a playful Apryl, but then there's also a professional and formal Apryl as well. So that shows that you're very versatile, very flexible as well. So for your personal brand, it's actually great to actually have a combination, a composition of different channels and audiences. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes. Oh, yes. So Apryl, we are unfortunately approaching the end of our conversation today, but I do have one last question, which is the following. So what is a question that I haven't asked you over the past 34 minutes, but I should have asked you?
Let's see. That's a good question.
Well, thank you.
As it pertains to PR and promoting yourself, I think maybe a good question would be, what would you suggest for someone who is trying to, do more personal PR? What is the one, but is also scared to promote yourself? What is your easiest piece of advice, maybe?
Yeah.
Is that a good question?
It's great, yes. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to ask it to you immediately. So Apryl, what is the easiest piece of advice that you would give to somebody who would love to promote themselves, but are kind of scared to do so?
And it's so funny because I want the answer to the question myself. But I think it's so funny because sometimes when you are so scared, you don't realize how easy something can be. And I think that the easiest piece of advice, because you can't go from 0 to 100 to being, I don't want to promote myself, so I'm going to go hide in a hole, versus I'm going to promote myself to the high heavens and I'm going to post things everywhere, because people notice that. And you might be scared that you're triggering people by bragging about yourself. So I think that the first thing is that, and I learned this from you. I mean, it's not necessarily you're promoting yourself, you're promoting your ideas, which changes the game in terms of how you look at promotion. So I have been trying to think about it more from that perspective in everything that I've been doing since you and I first met. So I thank you for that. But I think also you have to do something, you have to do it in ways that are manageable to you. So as an example of what I decided to do starting in 2023 was I didn't want to promote myself because I was scared to. So I just stayed silent. And I think that you just need to kind of put yourself back out there and just show people that you're alive. And so I have a system where, Mondays I send out a weekly newsletter to my email list, and Tuesdays I send, I'll post something on social media. It could be business related, it could be personal related. It doesn't really matter. On Wednesdays, I'm on Instagram. On Thursdays, I'm on LinkedIn. And Friday, I'm supposed to be writing a blog for my upcoming book or doing a YouTube vlog of sorts, like an update. And so that is the cadence where I'm just trying to do one thing every week in each of those platforms, because those are places that I play. And it might be a promotion of, hey, I've got this new, we've got this webinar with my community, or, hey, I'm writing this book, I need more people to interview, or, hey, here's my son who sang a solo in the choir at this concert and didn't even tell me about it. So it's just putting yourself out there, and just talking about yourself is the easiest advice that I can give. Just put yourself out there. Don't have an agenda of promoting, but just let people know that you're there and what's going on, so that you don't kind of disappear because you're not, cluttering the media space. And yes, there is a lot of clutter in media, but the people who need to see you will see you, and those algorithms are very, very strong. So yeah. So that's my advice.
Yeah, no, thank you. I loved it because it ties back to something that I was talking yesterday on in my lives. I go live every day in my Facebook group, and also in this Facebook group, and also on my Instagram. And I asked the question: visibility, excuse me, quality or quantity? And certainly we all agree that we need quality, certainly, and quality manifests in different ways, and we're not going to go into details now, but a lot of people think that if they produce like a really high quality piece of content, maybe per week or twice a month, they are going to be visible, which is unfortunately not the case, because this world is so noisy, especially the world of social media. So basically my argument, what I argue, is that visibility is not only a quality game, it's a game of quantity as well, and it's a numbers game as well. Would you agree? I think that this is more or less in line with what you have just said, right?
Yeah, I think that there's got to be a good balance between quality and quantity. Sometimes I look at people who do high quality stuff and I'm overwhelmed, because I'm like, I can't do that. You can't do it every day, but you can't let that stop you from not putting content out at all. So even if it's, just a rant, written rant, or a fun TikTok video or whatever that is. I'm not on TikTok, but those types of things could, be super, super simple, and just let people know that you're there and what you're working on. So yeah,
absolutely. And this is something that maybe ties back to something that you said a few minutes ago, which is you said that you like speaking off the cuff. And if we need to be prolific, like to create a lot of content in this world, in this social media world especially, then I think that we don't have the time and the resources, and probably you agree as a productivity coach, we don't have the time to go live every single day and have a script for every live that we have, right? Yes. I mean, if we go live every single day, which I've been doing for over 100 days, and I love it, I'm going to continue for the rest of my life because I love it. You just have to be able to speak off the cuff. If you want to be prolific, you have to be able to speak off the cuff. There's no way that you can prepare, not even an outline for every single live that you want to do. If you want to do one, go live once a day. I go live twice a day, right? So I just open the phone, I just open the app, and I just go live. And in the first few seconds, I don't even have a clue about what I'll be talking about. But if you're used to speaking off the cuff, to really, take a concept and develop it in a few minutes, right? So this is a product. Can we call it a productivity hack, Apryl?
Sure, let's call everything a productivity hack. No, I do agree. It is practice. I think being able to feel the inefficiencies, it gives you awareness to how you can do things better. And so, if I go back and I look at some of the interviews that I did in 2016, I laugh because I'm so nervous and I could tell that I'm scripted. I will honestly tell you that I had wrote nothing down to prepare for this conversation. And so it does come with practice. I thought about it and I said, okay, here are some things that I want to think about. I don't even know what she's going to ask me, but I'm going to just wing it. And it also helps that I did an improv program. But that aside, I think the practice of just taking whatever is thrown at you and being vulnerable, it makes you seem real. All of the content that is, packaged in such a perfect way, there's a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes to make that look as fancy as it is. And you can only do so much, right? That's why it takes so long for like a television show to be filmed and then edited and all that stuff and then released. It takes a lot of work, but the off the cuff stuff also gives that layer of authenticity. It makes people connect with you on a level, even if it's not polished. I think sometimes people want that. I want it for sure. I love seeing people, feel like they're a hot mess, and I love watching it because it's like, oh, you're real like me, because I do that all the time. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a huge trend in personal brand, like in general, in many industries, but especially in personal branding, especially when we want to be visible. It's spontaneity and certainly authenticity and showing ourselves the way we are. Because at the end of the day, people want to find us personable, yeah, and relatable. Yes, at the end of the day, they want to connect with us, right? So the best way to connect with people, just don't posh it up, so to say, but just basically show who you are and what you're all about, definitely. And the right people will connect with you, and then other people won't connect with you. But we don't also want to connect with everybody. I mean, we don't want to be for everybody either.
Yeah, it's just, you can't. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't. So
yeah, exactly, totally. Yeah, so we're right in line with one another. So Apryl, you have to come back to the personal PR show in the next few months.
All right. You just tell me when and what the topic is, and we'll just wing it. Just kidding.
Yes, we can talk about so many things. For example, we can talk about book writing. We can really go and do a deep dive into book writing or book promoting for that matter as well. Right.
You just
awesome. Yeah, thank you. Definitely, we'll be in touch. So we'll be in touch with you. Thank you so much for being with us today. It has been so much fun.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much. This was a great way to start my day. Thank you.
Yeah. So enjoy your day in Chicago, in lovely Chicago, and we'll see you soon here back on the Personal PR Show. Thank you so much for watching us, guys, and I'll see you very soon for the next episode of the Personal PR Show. Bye. Bye, Apryl. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao.